Okay, I think we can start now. Good afternoon for those the people that don't know me. My name is Angie Alonso, and I work at IHCC. We are continuing the conversation about the tollway. So we have been doing this webinar series called Working in Illinois Infrastructure. So today is our last session, which is Understanding Bid Opportunities. This webinar is sponsored by the Illinois Tollway Technical Assistance Program and the Entrepreneurs of Color Partnership, with the collaboration of the SPTRC, the Illinois Tollway, and presentations are prepared by IHCC, Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and IDOT Chicago consultants. Dana will be our presenter today. For those that had a chance to meet her last week, she has vast experience in working with the tollway as a contractor or subcontractor. She can present and introduce herself, but she has this vast knowledge that she has put into this presentation. So I hope that you guys find this useful and you can take as much advantage as you can of these webinars. So without further delay, I would like also to introduce you to our new COO, Amanda Chavez. She joined our team recently. So please meet her, and Amanda, you are on.
Thank you, Angie. Good afternoon, all, and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us here today for the second in the series of Working in Illinois Infrastructure. Just wanted to welcome everyone and give a couple remarks about, these are the types of programs and government contracting programs that the IHCC offers to our members and to the Latino business community. So I hope that you find value in it, and that you take away, everything that you're able to put into it. So thank you very much. And I will turn it back over to Angie.
Thank you, Amanda. So before we go on with the agenda, I would like to remind you a couple of housekeeping items. You can see at the bottom of your screen the Q&A feature. You will use that one to ask questions to either to the people who is in the webinar today or to Dana. We will try our best and with time permitting to answer those questions live. If no, we will send a follow-up email with your questions. We will also make the presentation available in a follow-up email, so you guys can have all of those items, links, and information that we'll be talking about today. And also, I want to take this opportunity to invite you to another event that we are, IHCC is hosting with our SBDC, which is Financial Health During Crisis. What you need to know about financial during a crisis. This is a very interesting topic for all of our companies and how to manage and navigate these times of crisis. So we will be including that link to register for that one as well. And now I will just I'll talk a little bit about what's the PTAC program. So the technical assistance program, procurement technical assistance program that I oversee is a program that is funded by the Department of Logistics Agency, and that helps any company that wants to access government contracting. So we provide services like market research, helping you understand the procurement opportunities, trying to see if an opportunity is good for you, certifications needed to take advantage of the minority, women, veteran status so if you need any assistance with government contracting, please let us know and we will be able to help you. I would also like to introduce our SBTRC program. Is overseen by Gabriela Garcia, but today we have Marisol, which she works really closely with Gabriela, and she also joined our team recently. So I would like you to meet her. And Marisol, now you are on.
Thank you, Angie. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you and welcome. Like Angie mentioned, my name is Marisol Flores. I am the project coordinator for the United States Department of Transportation, Office of Small Business, Great Lakes Region, Small Business Transportation Resource Center, SBTRC for short. I'm here joined by my colleague, Gabriela Garcia, the project director for the SBTRC. The Great Lakes SBTRC is one of 11 offices across the United States dedicated to provide technical assistance and bring resources to businesses that are interested in doing work with different transportation agencies. If you're interested in learning more, please connect with us and we will be happy to assist you. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Marisol. I'm glad everybody's being able to know these great programs that we have at IHCC. And so now I would like to introduce our program director for the Illinois Tollway program, Liana Brand. She is the one in charge of that program. So Liana, now it's your turn.
Thank you, Angie, and welcome everybody to this session today. We are lucky to have this opportunity to share a lot of information about the tollway, so it will be a nice introduction if you are interested in opportunities and want to follow up with me or with Dana afterwards about the program and opportunities to participate. I'll just share that there's almost $1.5 billion of opportunities coming up with the tollway, both in professional services as well as actual road building. So whether you are involved in construction, engineering, or potentially project management, there are many opportunities to actually do work for the tollway. So our program offers both one-on-one coaching as well as group training so that you can identify those ways that you can get involved. So I will make a quick plug for the program in that we are currently recruiting. We're seeking small businesses to get involved. So we'll share more details about how you can do that after the program. And then finally, I'll say that one of the biggest benefits of participating in the tollway program is that you have access to several subject matter experts, from financing, business growth, to construction and professional services, one of whom is Dana, who is our presenter today. So again, that will be a nice introduction to both the tollway as well as the program itself and some of the actual training that you will get through the course of the program. So with that, I will turn it over to Dana. Welcome back, Dana. We're excited to hear from you again.
Thank you, Liana, and welcome to everyone from wherever you are. I'm glad you could join us today. First, I just wanted to see, because I think we have an opportunity here because we don't have an overwhelming amount of participants, to maybe invite the companies to share what their discipline is. There's a lot of content in the presentation, and if I can spend more time honing in on the specific elements that would be most useful, I'd like to do that. Liana, would you mind introducing the participants just so we could learn a little bit more about their companies?
Absolutely. And so I know currently under the webinar you are all muted, but I'll introduce you and allow you to talk just so you can say a few words and share more background about you. So Alma, I'll give you permission to talk and introduce yourself first.
Hey, Alma.
Hello, my name is Alma Perez. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can.
Well, my business is a restaurant. I don't know if I'm in the right webinar, but I have some time off, and I just thought it was an interesting topic that I decided to just join.
Thank you, Alma. I appreciate that context, and I'm glad you're here to learn with everybody. Hopefully you'll have some good takeaways and context, and it's good to know that you're coming from that particular background. Okay, Angie, I'll let you speak, and that's Angie, our attendee, not Angie from our team. So Angie, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Angelica.
It seems like we lost her.
Angie, I'm sorry, can you try that again?
Yes. Hi, my name's Angelica Araujo. My business is with transportation, and this is with freight and dump truck. We're currently in the process of getting our certification, so I'm glad that I'm able to join this webinar and just learn more about the Illinois Tollway and all the services you guys have to offer and help me outgrow my business. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Angie. Okay, and now I will invite Carolina or Carolina to talk, say a few words. Carolina, if you want to introduce yourself, you can. You have the permission that you just need to unmute yourself. Okay, well, let us know. You can send us a message via chat since it looks like we're not able to hear you at this time. And then finally, Sophia, if you'd like to just say a few words introducing yourself and your company.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hi, this is Sofia Fernandez. I work at JGMA. We are an architecture firm and based in Chicago. So this is obviously a very interesting topic for us, and we're wondering if there's any possibility of us getting involved and learning more about this initiative.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Sophia. And Dana, that looks like the attendees we have at the moment. Again, Carolina, feel free to chat us and share some information about you. But again, thank you to everyone for providing that context. It's a good place to start with the presentation. So Dana, I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you again, Liana. That context is really helpful because as I said, I included a lot of information in the presentation, and I just want to make sure that I can, whatever you take away is most relevant to being conducive with some of your goals. Just to explain a little bit about myself, just so you know what my experience is and where I'm coming from. I worked for prime contractors in infrastructure, subcontractors, rental vendors, professional services firms, and I've also consulted any number of trucking companies, rental vendors, specialty supply, and managed projects for some of the agencies that I have listed here, just so you know what my perspective is and where I'm coming from. I'm going to do a quick recap of what was in the first session, and then just go quickly through the agency contract advertisement navigation and the resources to find all the bid opportunities and how to interpret them. A little bit on contract documents, contractual milestones and what they mean, line item billing, and determining if a bid opportunity is right for your firm. I did want to mention in the presentation, because there's so much information, that all the green screens capture key points, takeaways, and links. When we emailed you the presentation, there are links throughout the presentation, but I just wanted to let you know if there's anything that you take away from the presentation, I think the green screens are a good thing to focus on. So just a quick recap from last week's session. You know, the available opportunities in infrastructure are, just to name a few, are design, construction management, managing the project on the owner's behalf, overseeing the contractor, which is what we refer to as professional services, and then maintaining the infrastructure. I don't have specific trades, but obviously the trucking is a component of a lot of the construction and maintenance portion. Talked about the different types of pre-qualification as an IDOT subcontractor and as a prime contractor, about the project life cycle from bidding and estimating to project execution, field work, and project closeout. So those should all be considerations that can apply to every instance of working in infrastructure. And then just some follow-up links and some things that you can take a look at in advance of exploring those opportunities. So I just wanted to go through the agency advertise navigation, just kind of how the process works. And this is for construction. And I think how this might be relevant is from the professional services aspect to know what information that the contractor has access to and what that process is. And from a trucking perspective or subcontracting perspective, just knowing how to look at these opportunities and the few key things that you would want to look at. I'm sure, you know, in trucking, logistics matter also, you know, where your truck's stored in relation to the dump sites and things of that nature. So for IDOT, they advertise all of their construction opportunities through what's called a letting. And they advertise the letting, and it has all the contracts, locations, opportunities, milestones, how to bid the opportunities, all in one comprehensive spot, which I'll go to in a moment. The plans and specifications become available online, and they identify them by item numbers. And the prime contractors submit an authorization to bid to the state, and the state tells them whether or not they're authorized to bid those opportunities. And then the prime contractors submit the bids electronically. So what I'll focus mostly on right now, as I think it's most relevant and helpful, is how you might be able to look at some of who the prime contractors are, so that you can determine who you might want to solicit to submit a subcontracting bid, if that makes sense. So for instance, when you go to this IDOT screen, this website, this is the last notice of letting was September 18th, 2020. And it gives you all the historical data on here as well. But I can show you on this screen just kind of how you navigate all the different bids. You'll see here, these are the item numbers and contract numbers, and a brief description of what's included in those contracts. So you can kind of, through process of elimination, take a look and say, if you're not looking to work in District 9 in Massac County, if that's how you pronounce it, that's not an opportunity that you would want to look at. So you would click on the item and opportunity, saying, let's say you were interested in working in that area. And the plans, and this is just a brief overview. This is how you access the plans and specifications. Plans are the contract plans, which is just an overview of building the construction of the job. So just so you know kind of how to navigate this whole website and where to see things. Let me go back to the presentation here. I think it's best if we kind of get through all the different applications for both IDOT and the tollway, because the professional services process is a lot different. These are let in a similar format where they announce the notice of letting to let you know what all the different opportunities are. And they, what the prime consultants need to provide then is what's called a statement of interest. And there's all kinds of documentation for sub-consultants and what you would offer, and what qualifications you have to perform the work in each solicitation. There's a timeline of when all of this is due, and the first round of selection feedback from IDOT selection committee. So the qualified offer is selected at the timeline identified in the solicitation, and that's how that process works. And there are similar processes for the tollway with construction. And I don't know if I'll go to the plan room briefly to just kind of show you how to navigate those opportunities also, and how to look at the milestones and the plans and specifications, and how you access all the contract documentation online. Typically, there is a pre-bid which is obviously all virtual right now. So that's a good opportunity to get a brief overview of the project and ask about any questions that you may have. And everything is executed via the online bid buy system to submit on an opportunity as a prime for the tollway. So I'll just briefly kind of take you through the Illinois Tollway online plan room. And I think it's pretty intuitive and user-friendly. It shows you what the opportunities are by contract number and a brief description of the job. And I think in most instances, there would be trucking applications on the majority of these jobs. So if you go to the opportunity from there, you're just able to see, you know, a quick overview of all the information that you would need, when the project bids, when and how to access the pre-bid. From here, you go to a tab that will allow you to see the contract plans online. You can purchase these plans, but thankfully you are able to see through these links just kind of an overview. Also gives you access to the specifications and the P pages, which is what identifies all of the estimated quantities and line items on the project. And I think what you might, a couple of key things you might find most helpful here is the book 2 of the contract that gives you a little bit more detail about, you know, it'll take a minute to load here, about where the contract is and the specific scope of work so that you can determine if this is something that you want to pursue. What I think is really good information on here is these are the paid plan holders who have pulled the plans on the project, and thankfully they identify themselves with bid categories as general contractors, or you know, they'll identify whether or not they're a supplier. So this could give you a good first start of who you might want to do some outreach to well in advance of when the bid is due, to talk to people about their needs respective to your different trades. So I think this is a really, really good and you know, resourceful and transparent tool when you're looking at whether or not you want to bid an opportunity on the construction side. The tollway professional services, much like IDOT, it's a similar process. There is a professional services bulletin with the same, and they refer to that as the PSB. So the PSB is advertised with all the different opportunities, which could, and I didn't mention this before, consist of design, construction inspection, construction and design feasibility. So there is so many different opportunities available in those bulletins. The same thing, you compose the statement of interest, you know, compile your qualifications of your team, and then there's, you know, some back and forth with the selection committee, and the offer is selected. Also, another available resource with the tollway is called job order contracting, which is kind of like a, it's almost like a database of catalog construction tasks where you bid on a specific type or discipline of work with varying different tasks that can be applied at multiple locations. So the way I included some links here on where to access those opportunities on the tollway's website, as well as a link to the directory of what contractors are currently working in that capacity, the prime contractors. So if you so choose, you can do some outreach to those contractors as well to see if there are current opportunities to work together. So aside from construction, professional services, and job order contracting, there's also what the tollway calls goods and services rather, which can be anything from IT to snow removal to salt material supply, aggregate material supply. So that's also a good resource of all different types of procurement that are outside of construction, professional services, and job order contracting. And I've included a link here for the buying plan, so you can take a look at what's coming for the remaining of 2020, and then also what's upcoming the first couple of quarters of 2021. So you can be on the lookout for those specific opportunities, as well as the bid results for previous opportunities, so you can kind of see what might be coming out beyond that, based off the historical offerings. Just as a quick recap, remember the green screens contain some really good distinct links and information. For IDOT, here's where you access construction opportunities and professional services opportunities. The same for tollway for construction, professional services, job order contracting, oops, and goods and services. So the green screens are the key. Just to go over the contract documents very quickly, plans are always included, which is, your roadmap to how to build the job. The detailed specifications offer much more in-depth context about milestones, how the work should be performed, and any other information that you may need to know how to build the job. It includes the line items, which has estimated quantities of work that are going to be performed on the job. Plan holders, as we reviewed together, standard specifications, supplemental specifications, addendum, which is issued when they want to change something on the project prior to the work bidding, and construction revisions, which happen after the contract is awarded when they need to change something while you're building the work. So I just put together an overview here of the tollway, where you would access those plans, specifications, proposal pages, so that you can kind of get an overview of how everything's formatted, so you can flip through it a little bit and see if you're able to deduct the information that you would need to determine if that's something that you would be interested in bidding. It provided the same information for IDOT here. Just wanted to cover an overview of what contractual milestones are rather. It's a really good thing to be conscious of when you're looking at bidding an opportunity. As you can see here, this is an example of how the tollway presents that information. The first thing is a notice to proceed, and that means when the tollway or the agency is actually formally saying you can be performing the work at this point. That's kind of when the gun goes off to get the work started. So that's a really important date because you're going to be bidding these opportunities sometimes anywhere from 3 to 4 months in advance of that notice to proceed happening. Interim substantial completion and substantial completion, that's when the majority of the work needs to be complete on the project. So it kind of gives you a timeline of, to get you thinking about what's the notice to proceed versus when does the work have to be substantially complete. And they identify in the contract specifications what they consider substantially complete on the project. And then the final completion is typically 30 to 60 days after substantial completion to allow for punch lists and as-built and walkthroughs and things of that nature. And then liquidated damages are something to be conscious of also, which is anything beyond any of these milestones that hasn't happened in the time frame that the agency has allotted for. Line item work. So obviously, for trucking and specialty trades, those are kind of lump sum load type opportunities. So I don't necessarily, and for professional services, this isn't necessarily relevant other than to have that insight into how the work is measured and paid for. But I will just show you briefly here. So this is a pay item, and this is how all of these contracts for construction are organized. So it kind of takes out the guesswork of what's expected on the job. And once you really learn these pay item numbers and how to navigate all this, the good thing is that it applies the same way consistently for all of the upcoming opportunities. So the pay item number references some IDOT standard specifications. The designation is just the description of the work. This unit indicates what the unit of measure is, and this is the planned quantity on the project based off the designer's takeoff and measuring in place. So you have an idea of what the estimated values are and quantities for the work for the project. So that's basically how you navigate that. And this is how the pricing is determined when the prime's submitting the bid. Determining if a bid opportunity is right for your firm, I just put together a quick checklist of things to consider. You know, no matter what your scope or what your application is, you can always look through those line items just to see what type of work is involved. So you can identify, you know, if you're in trucking, you can identify if you're, you know, if there's sewer work on there so that you can target sewer subcontractors and maybe not just go to the prime contractors or electricians or, you know, whatever you feel most comfortable, like hauling off spoil or bringing in aggregate or whatever the case may be. Know the timeline, as I referenced before, what the notice to proceed is versus when you're bidding the project versus when you think your scope will kind of land to complete the project, because that could be the difference of anywhere, you know, from 6 to 18 months. Do you need any special pre-qualifications to actually perform the work? It's always a good idea to be a little bit proactive on that front, and I have some links at the end of the presentation that of some things that you could work on to make sure all that pre-qualification is already in order. And do you have the resources to perform the work within the allotted timeline? So those are just some things to consider when doing this type of work. As I mentioned in my last presentation, there are a lot of advantages in working in infrastructure. Sustainability is infrastructure will continue to have to be designed and maintained. The jobs that can create as a result of you know, continuing to grow off that volume of work. Infrastructure allows for a lot of diversification. If you were you know, becoming you can go from trucking to developing like a specialty trade and working as a subcontractor and really learning to navigate that system well, and perhaps you might even want to bid as a prime contractor on some of the small business opportunities. So I think that really offers a lot of firms and their personnel a great deal of diversification in their offering. And once, as I mentioned before, you're familiar with navigating all the bid documents, which may seem overwhelming at first, you know, with the different applications of how you interpret all the work. Once that learning curve is over, it's the same throughout all of the subsequent bid opportunities. And once you're kind of past that learning curve and you can grow a great volume, I think if you're efficient and you plan well and you market yourself well and build some good relationships, there's a lot of potential for some generous profitability. So if you do take away anything from this presentation, and we're back to the last comprehensive green screen, you might want to register as an IDOT subcontractor. It's just a one-page form, and you should get feedback on approval on that form within 24 to 48 hours. Registering as a vendor in the Illinois Procurement Gateway as a small business concern. It's a little bit more involved, but definitely worth doing something proactively, exploring that opportunity, and just navigating some of the tollway and IDOT bid opportunities, utilizing some of the links in this presentation just to familiarize yourself a little bit with how to navigate that info. I also contained some other links to some other agencies and municipalities if you wanted to peruse their bid opportunities as well. And as Liana had mentioned previously, if you wanted to reach out to anyone at the Chamber or myself to discuss a more specific concern outside of this web platform, there's all of our contact information, which will be contained in the presentation that's sent to you. And now I'd just like to open it up to if anybody has any specific questions I can help address or answer.
Thank you, Dana. For such a great presentation and all of this important information. So I wonder if any of our participants have any questions to ask to Dana. It can be related to your specific industry, maybe some experience that you have had with the Illinois Tollway or bidding in some public contracts. So if you want to ask questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom so we can answer them live. Well, it seems like Dana, you great such a good job. They don't have any questions. All the
I hope
information is
that's
very
the
clear.
case.
Yeah, we have some charity participants. I see we have a couple of more participants that didn't have a chance to introduce themselves at the beginning. So for those that haven't introduced themselves, why we don't give them the chance to do so?
Let's see. I don't know that we've heard from Elmer Martinez. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself. You just have to unmute if you're able.
Elmer, you can also send us a chat because it seems like we cannot hear you and we can see that you are muted. Okay, maybe we move to Jillian Garcia.
Hi there, Jillian.
Hi, Jillian. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
So would you mind introducing yourself and talking a little bit about the company and the work that you guys do?
I think we're having some audio issues. And if I recall correctly, I've actually spoken with Jillian previously, and they're of an architectural and engineering discipline. So I think some of the relevant information in the presentation on how to navigate the professional services opportunities for both the tollway and IDOT could be really useful in your pursuit.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. Yeah, it seems like for some reason we cannot hear our participants. So, Dana, if you will recap the two presentations from last week and today, what will be those key points that you want to say? Like, if you take nothing else about this Illinois Tollway series that we've done, what would be those like 3 items or 3 to 5 items that you say like these are the points that you really need to remember about this webinars?
I think the thing that stands out to me the most was one of the last points that I touched on in my presentation is just the ways that infrastructure could allow you to diversify your business offering. Whether you have a design or design or engineering or consulting discipline, there's just so many different areas and ways that you can get involved. And also from, as I mentioned, from a construction perspective, you can go from you know, learning the system as a rental or trucking vendor, and then perhaps adopting or, you know, learning a specialty trade and turning that into, you know, a voluminous subcontracting presence, which might eventually lead to you even becoming a prime and being able to do all these things concurrently when, you know, as Liana had mentioned previously too, there's so much current funding available right now for all of these infrastructure opportunities. You know, who knows what the next 5 years will bring, but I think any way that you can diversify your business it's a good consideration. And again, like I said, I sometimes think for somebody who hasn't been in this industry before, it can be overwhelming to figure out what would be a good starting point. And I think really looking at navigating the sites and learning all the different opportunities, and also getting to know some of the key players and the plan holders is a really, really good way to get your foot in the door as a subcontractor or a vendor. So I think I think those are some of the key things that I would take away had I not ever worked in this industry before.
Thank you, Dana. I think those points that you mentioned are very important because, like you say, sometimes when we see, and I see it a lot with my clients, is you see it government contracting and it looks so overwhelming that it's like almost like I don't even know where to start or how can I start into this. So it's important to know that there are programs out there to help you navigate this, like the Illinois tollway program. You have the PTAC program that also helps with any government contract with any agency that is part of the government. It can be local, state level, or even federal. So there are resources out there, and that's what I like. Something that I wanted to tell to our participants is that you are not alone on this, and we know that it's hard, it's overwhelming, but there are resources out there to help you understand and navigate. And once you learn these, then you will have the chance to continue working for the government, which has also some perks. We have talked a lot about how it is very difficult to get into these and pass the learning curve and understand the process. But what would you say, Dana, some are some of those key, like really good things once you enter this arena of working in infrastructure and working with the tollway?
Like I said before, just kind of knowing that, I worked with a lot of clients like during like private one-on-one coaching sessions, and some of the feedback I've gotten from them is that it's overwhelming to learn the line item systems and the processes and how everything works. But once you do have a good handle on how to navigate all those bid documents and contractual documents, it's the same application throughout. So you're not relearning or reinventing the wheel on every project. Where a lot of times I think when there are private opportunities or even just like lump sum opportunities, you're making all of these assumptions about what you have to do. And what this line item work gives, it takes all the guesswork out of what's expected when you have these resources available. So I think you're able to scale things a lot more effectively because it's not you're not guessing about what you're going to be doing, and all the information that the agencies make available online about forecasting what work is coming up also is a really good resource for planning too. So that would be my answer to the question.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that if a company hasn't done any government contract and is interested to work on working with the tollway, one of the best things they can do is go and see the forecast and start preparing for those contracts that are coming up. Like that would be a really safe place to start, not just because you will see what is coming and what opportunities, but also because you can check if your company is ready or what things you need to do to get ready for those contracts that are coming up.
I think that's a really good thing to be doing, as a first step and throughout, and also really getting also to know who the prime contractors are and who the subcontractors are who perform that type of work, and building relationships with them well in advance of opportunity days that are bidding. So you can kind of get to know what their process is so that they know what your qualifications are. If you have, DBE, MBE, veteran or women business enterprise certifications that you can share to help some of the diversity goals on the contracts. I think those are some really good objectives also. And you can find all that information in who the plan holders are for the project.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's very important that our small businesses start creating those relationships ahead of time and don't wait until the bid is out to try to reach out to like the main or the prime contractors, because it's a little bit too late. They probably have somebody in mind, and you want to have those conversations and build those relationships before the opportunity is there, so you have a better chance to connect with them and to talk to them without the pressure of the bid just coming up. So I think all of
Definitely.
those, yeah, all of those points are really good. And at the same time, you can also translate or bring those same points to any government agency. I think with government contracting, it is complicated, and in some ways it's very similar across the agencies. So I think this applies not just to the tollway, but also to any other agency that you might be interested in working with. So Phil, to the participants, I want to say feel free to ask any questions at any time. We are just holding the conversation, trying to summarize all of this information that might seem overwhelming for you, and trying to break it into pieces so it is more digestible. Also want to say that we are recording this session, so we will make the video available on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and check the links and share and check all of that, rewatch the video, see Dana sharing all of that wonderful information that she has prepared for us. So that's another resource. We probably won't be sending the recording audio just because it's too heavy on the follow-up email, just the presentation, but it will be available on our YouTube channel.
I'll remind people you can ask questions through the Q&A function or through the chat if you're more comfortable. I did want to follow up on a question I had, which relates to that issue of networking. We've talked a couple of times about how important it is to start developing relationships. In this moment, that does look a little bit different. You're not going to have those events in person where you can try to approach someone and start a conversation. So what does that look like now? And Dana, you've been there both on the professional services side as well as in construction. So can you share a little bit about what that looks like? What are some of your networking best practices to start building those relationships?
Well, I think making the initial contact is always a struggle too. For instance, if you're a subcontractor and you're calling a large, any large company, and I guess it doesn't matter if you're a smaller company and you're trying to do business with a larger company, it's making sure that you're talking to the right person and that you're feeding them the right information. Hi, my name is Dana. I'm calling from Dana's Trucking. I'm looking to work on IDOT and tollway projects, and I'd like to speak to an estimator on hauling aggregate. As concise and as clear as you can be to communicate what service you want to offer, but you can get to the right person at estimating in the company or whoever you need to talk to make those introductions. And as a follow-up to that, to ensure maybe that you have some good and concise, succinct marketing material to touch on the key points that you want to communicate. Who are you? Logistically, where are you located? Who's the right person to contact and how can you contact them? What are your qualifications? Or you might even want to name drop some previous customers so that they can see some commonality in what you're offering your current and previous client base versus what you can offer them. Some agencies that you've worked for, like I said, just like a one-page maybe statement of qualifications that really shows who you are, so that any questions they may have about, where is this coming from might just be answered. But make that contact, follow up with an email, and just continue to follow up from there. And if you're not successful with the person, if the person you're speaking to isn't responsive, try again with someone else. I think those are, and if you're working, one other thing that I wanted to mention also, there's a lot of focus on reaching out to prime contractors. But a lot of times if you have a specific discipline, a good best practice might be to reach out to somebody with a similar discipline who already has a large volume of that work and talk to them and connect with them, especially if you're able to offer some DBE participation on a project. And as you know, Liana, there's also the tollway has a bid incentive in the Partnering for Growth Mentor Protege agreements, and we've had some success with doing some meaningful matchmaking with some contractors of a similar specialty trade as well as prime contractors to help the proteges achieve their goals. So those are some things you might want to consider also, is building relationships with like-minded or similar scope contractors that can help mentor you to help build more knowledge and capacity in that field.
Thank you, Dana. Those are very good points, and I hope that the participants take note of all of these great tips, because sometimes we want to reach out and make that phone call and it's not that easy. So knowing how to ask and knowing for who to ask and knowing that they have this different person for each specialty, I think that just that tip is a really good one, and that any of our attendees can use depending on their industry. So if we don't have any more questions, and if the panelists don't have anything else to share or to say, I think we are approaching the hour. So the only thing that I have to say is thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for participating in all of this series. We will send the follow-up email. We will ask you for your feedback for our future events. We are trying to serve our small businesses the best that we can, especially in these times of crisis. So you will have also all of our contact information. Feel free to reach out to us with questions, with any comments, anything that you want to say. If we are not the right person, we'll try our best to redirect your email so you get your answers. And we wish you the best of luck with your government contracts. I think we have somebody saying something. So, so it's okay. Like, we are all trying to do our best navigating technology and working from home, and so I think we are all just trying to go through these times and trying to get our best and do our best on everything. So thank you, Dana. I really appreciate your time today and last week, and just being here with all of our attendees and sharing all those tips. Thank you to the IHCC team to help me put this event through and creating all of the presentation, sharing tips, best practices. So, and thank you to all of our attendees for sticking with us. Keep your eyes open for the next event, and don't forget that IHCC will be hosting the health and finances in times of crisis, which is a very relevant topic these days. So thank you to all of you, and goodbye. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.